All right, I guess we're good to go. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 30th, the last day of the month of the quarter. And I think if we all had our druthers, would be the last day of the year 2020, considering what we've gone through in this first 6 months of the year. So, but we can't fix that, but we can fix that it's a new fiscal year beginning tomorrow, and excited about that. So it gives us a new opportunity. So thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I call this meeting to order. Obviously, it's a Zoom meeting, but we're as live as we can be, and we're continuing to get through this. So, as always, we have the silent invocation followed by the pledge. Silent invocation today. Commissioner Casada has asked, I think, to say a few words, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Chief Perez. Commissioner Casada.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I take that back. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. For our moment of silence this evening, I would like to put in our minds and our hearts Rodolfo Anaya, one of our greatest artists to ever come out of New Mexico, to tell the stories of our people, to hang on to our cultures that are dear to all of us here in New Mexico. And hopefully that we reflect on his life and that we heal as a community. Recent days, we've had a lot of controversy over Spanish and Native American, I was very fortunate to know Rodolfo Anaya, and I know that he would reflect that we remember him as a way of asking everybody to come together to heal, to bring ourselves together, and not look at what has happened 400 years ago, but let's heal about what we're going to do tomorrow. And what happened yesterday, I think, is something not to forget. And so I just want us all to remember a great man, a great artist, and somebody who spent his life trying to heal who we are.
Thank you, Commissioner Casada, very much. Chief Perez.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief, very much. Thank you, Commissioner Casada. You know, these are crazy times. These are times like none of us have seen, and unfortunately, every day it seems like we keep getting more divided rather than more united. And I just hope that at least for the time that the rest of us continue to work together, that we continue to bring that unity to the board. Everything gets put in perspective when we have situations when people pass away, whether expected or unexpected, or we see things that just continue to cause pause and cause disenfranchisement. You know, I have to share because it's crazy. My mind just doesn't think like this, but I guess there's a picture of me flying out there that someone put Trump hair on that says, COVID is over, time to open up. Some people will die, and that's okay. Sound familiar? The reason that I make this comment is if anybody really knew who I was, they would never even think to send something like that. They would never even consider to send something like that. But that's the world we're in. Rather than open a dialogue, let's attack. It's shameful, and it's sad, and it makes me sad. Announcements of additions and/or changes to the agenda. Madam County Manager, are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Good evening. Yes, we have a couple of changes, and the first one is item 3A as an apple, economic development. The final adoption of an ordinance for project revenue bond for the commons at Martineztown to be added to the agenda and heard as item 9C, as in Charlie, under adoption of ordinances. And then the second item, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, is item 8P, as in Paul, under procurement. Staff is requesting that this be deferred to the August 11th meeting. And this is the purchasing procedures amended resolution to be removed from the agenda. And as I said, and deferred to the August 11th meeting. And a vote is required for these changes to the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I would vote or make the motion to approve the changes set forth by County Manager Julie Baca. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Colley and Commissioner Piscotti. Thank you all very much. Any questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Colley,
Aye.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti. Aye. Chairman Talbot.
Aye.
No call, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Appreciate that. Okay, next, on to some niceties as well, some proclamations. The first one is Parks and Recreation Open Space Month. Commissioner Colley.
Commissioner Colley, you're on mute. Sorry.
That is going the way the rest of the day is going as well, because I don't have it pulled up to do that. And if someone has it pulled up, I would love to defer to them. Nobody has it up on their screen? Really? All right, let me get there.
If you give me a minute, I will bring it up.
Me too. While that's coming up, Mr. Chair, if I could say that I too received that I thought not only unfortunate but despicable meme. I have serious regrets every time I see something like that, of whatever the intent is, or whatever the message is, that we live in a world in which that substitutes for real involvement and real contributions. And I'm sorry you got hit with that. All right. I am presently unable to get there. Maybe this is it. I do have it. Mr. Chair, if you'll allow me, I'll read that now. I take it my mic is on or off?
It's on.
Good. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners. Whereas parks, recreation, and open space programs are an integral and important part of communities throughout this country, including Bernalillo County. And whereas our parks, recreation, and open spaces are vitally important to the citizens of Bernalillo County and establish and maintain quality of life, health, and contribute to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for citizens with disabilities, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and reduction of crime. And whereas parks and recreation and open space areas are fundamental to the environmental health of our community. And whereas parks and open spaces improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce a healthy habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and open spaces ensure the beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to commune with nature and enjoy its benefit through recreation. And whereas the US House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas Bernalillo County proudly supports an outstanding parks, recreation, and open space department that works tirelessly to improve the quality of life in our community and remains relevant in protecting residents and providing recreational alternatives during the coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commission does hereby proclaim this month of July as Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Month. Mr. Chair, if a motion is in order, I move that the commission approve this proclamation.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Colley. It is so moved. You have put forth this, and thank you so much for recognizing the hard work of our Parks and Rec. Right now, many people are enjoying outside as much as they can. It seems to be the one place that we can find respite from all of this. We definitely are trying not to be inside with many people other than our friends and family, but thank you so much for putting that forward. Number C, or excuse me, letter C is also an acknowledgement of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Complete Count Committee, which you have also sponsored. If you want to go forward with that acknowledgement as well.
I'm happy to do that, sir.
Please do.
The Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Complete Count Committee. Since January, the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Census Complete Count Committee has been working toward a full and proper count within the county designated area. Residents have been encouraged to go online, phone in, or submit their Census 2020 questionnaires by mail to be counted. The iCount campaign is working in Bernalillo County with a response rate of more than 63%. In May, Bernalillo County won the County Cup, a friendly competition between Bernalillo and Sandoval counties. Bernalillo County used a multi-pronged approach for outreach that included strategies such as geofencing, targeted digital, website, and social media saturation, and blanketed phone banking by community-based organizations. Beginning in July, the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Complete Count Committee will continue to its outreach effort with a new campaign, 10 Reasons Why, targeting new platforms to engage city and county employees and residents to be counted while drawing attention to what makes our community unique. Those unique areas include history, special activities and events, food, and what an accurate count can find, fund, and support. The U.S. Census and the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Complete Count Committee is striving to collect and present the most accurate accounting of residents in history. The Bernalillo County Commission recognizes the great work of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Complete Count Committee and the tireless efforts of all census workers, volunteers, and participants. I count, you count, we all count. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I will tell you that someone who works, I think, closely with the county, he owns Johnny Boards, Ruben Garcia, has been out putting up the census posters everywhere. We actually put 2 of them in our drive up here at the bank to make sure that everyone who came through the drive up can actually see and remind themselves that it does count, that it is incredibly important that they get out and make sure they complete the census. It's so simple. I mean, I did it literally in 15, 20 seconds. It's pretty easy. So I think we continue to tell people it's not hard. It's if I can do it, trust me, anybody can. So we can get it done. Thank you so much for that. Next, we have an acknowledgement of Bernalillo County Clerk Linda Stover presentation of acknowledgement. I think that's County Manager Julie Baca doing that. So I see Linda's already smiling. So is Julie. So we love these happy moments. Please, Julie.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is a happy moment indeed. Um, I'm just really proud of our County Clerk, Linda Stover. And so her most recent accomplishment is she received an award, the 2020 Achievement Award from the National Association of Counties for her program About My County Activity Book. And so, as all of you probably know, she was able to get this this coloring book into the schools and part of their curriculum. Very, very exciting. We're so proud of her. And I just know, and I've talked to a few of you commissioners who were very adamant about ensuring that she was recognized at this meeting. So congratulations, Madam Clerk. We are so proud of you and your work. And I also never want to forget Miss Tiffany Chambly, who has done a great job. And we know you always acknowledge her and acknowledge the fact that this probably wouldn't have been possible without her. So would you like to say a few words, Madam Clerk?
I would. Thank you, Madam County Chairman, County Manager. You know, I had that spread out all over my desk one time, and Tiffany walked in to have me sign some papers. And she said, "What is all this?" So I started trying to show it to her, and I said, I'm trying to put this together. And she says, "Let me give it a whirl." And that thing started breathing from that point on. So she deserves a lot of credit for that. But I also want to say that the county clerk's office knows that it takes a village, and we can't do anything in this clerk's office without the help of Bernalillo County. And we're really glad to be team members of the Bernalillo County team. And we thank all of you for all that you do to help us. You've helped us with the elections. You've been gracious and kind to help with this book. It's a wonderful thing to be part of Bernalillo County. And I thank you all very, very much.
Is that the one that's got our cool little emojis in it?
It is. You're all over the world now, Lonnie.
Oh man, I love that emoji more than I love my own picture in the mirror. So there you go.
There you go.
Fun stuff. Thank you. Well, that's great. Thank you, Julie, for recognizing Linda and her staff for that. It's always good to see. Congratulations. Well, you're on a roll, Julie. So you get to talk about the next acknowledgement of Behavioral Health Department. Now we know why Margarita's on. I thought it was just so we could see the rope bridge behind her, but now we know there's a little more behind that. So there you go. Julie.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I don't want to steal Margarita's thunder, but she's got a lot to be proud of with her department, and we do as well. So I wanted to give her an opportunity to talk about this as it relates to the accomplishments of our behavioral health department. So Margarita.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam County Manager and Chair Commissioners. The Department of Behavioral Health Services is honored to have received a few actual achievement awards from the National Association of Counties. So the first award that we received is for the Supportive Aftercare Program in collaboration with the Parks and Recreation Department. This particular award is best in category. So we want to thank Debbie Jo, Andre, and especially Danielle Fast from Parks and Recreation, who works very closely with our clinical manager, Megan Aragon. So really a big thank you and kudos to that team. And again, appreciation to Megan Aragon, our clinical manager. We also received achievement awards for our law enforcement assisted diversion program. It's very timely with everything that's going on in the country right now, and looking for ways to really expand our horizons around the ways that we are engaging with the public. And so this law enforcement assisted diversion program receiving a National Achievement Award is again very timely and really appreciated on a national platform. Again, this is something that we're doing here locally that is being called for on a national platform. We also received an award for our Narcan harm reduction program. as well as our needle matching program and our youth transitional living services. So the county has received 5 national achievement awards through NACO. So really appreciative, and thank you all for your support in all of these efforts.
Well, I'm just sad. I know that in April you would have been able to, had we not been in COVID-19, been able to go and actually receive those awards in person too. So way to go. Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, so much. Congratulations, Margarita. Next, we've got certificates and awards, housing, recognition of Brandy Pacheco and Patrice Lucero, presentation of recognition. Is that Betty?
It's me.
Hi, Betty.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I have Brandy Martinez and Patrice Lucero on Zoom here. So I want to present this to Brandy Martinez and Patrice Lucero, and I'm going to read this. So as employees of Bernalillo County Housing Department, Brandy Pacheco Martinez and Patrice Lucero have worked tirelessly and endlessly to bring grants and funding for community development in Bernalillo County. This year, the Bernalillo County Housing Department is receiving a $500,000 community development block grant, which is CDBG from the state of New Mexico, largely because of the efforts of Brandy and Patrice, who worked with various partners to qualify the county for the grant. This year is the first time since 2003 that Bernalillo County has received the Community Development Block Grant, and the first time since 2005 that the State Department of Finance and Administration, or DFA, has awarded a CDBG grant to any entity to rehab public housing. When the county received the grant in 2003, the money unfortunately was not utilized and was returned to the state. Receiving the grant in 2020 required forging new territory, answering many novel questions that both Brandy and Patrice had to continually develop and provide to pave the way for receiving this grant. Because of their efforts, Bernalillo County is able to rehab our 75 multifamily units known as El Centro and Sable Village. We're going to be able to make many numerous improvements to the over 35-year-old property, including electrical, flooring, bathroom, and other upgrades. In addition to the $500,000 CDBG grant, we will be utilizing another $500,000 from our GO bond, making over $1 million investment to renovate this currently occupied property by seniors and disabled. But really what I want to do is recognize Brandy Pacheco Martinez and Patrice Lucero of the Bernalillo County Housing Department for their dedication and tireless effort to service the residents of Bernalillo County, and really to recognize this historical effort on behalf of Bernalillo County in getting the CDBG grant, which is really an awesome thing for Bernalillo County that has not been done in many, many years. So Chair, I would like to do that publicly in front of the chair and the community, and really just a round of applause for Brandy Pacheco Martinez and Patrice Lucero.
Congratulations to your entire team, obviously, but to these two young ladies who sounds like have been an integral part of the success in this program and really doing great things for Bernalillo County residents, specifically on the front of supportive housing. So I hope you both, I know we're not live like in a meeting with a lot of other people there, but I hope it's not lost on the fact that you're zoomed in and Betty is recognizing you, and you will forever be recorded in Zoom history as being a part of this county commission meeting and being recognized for what you've done. So congrats to you both. And Betty, thank you so much for bringing that forth and recognizing them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments or thoughts regarding?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Betty. You know, we have great leadership, I have to say, at housing, thanks to Betty. And, you know, it's all about what's best for our Bernalillo County residents and our 75 residents of our public housing unit. So I just wanted to say thank you for the recognition.
Oh, you're welcome. Patrice?
Yes, I also thank you, but just like Brandy said, I mean, we do have great leadership there. We all kind of chip in as a team. We're all like one with Bernalillo County, and I'm very happy to support the community, and I'm happy to be where I am. So thank you.
Wow. Thanks for joining us tonight, and keep up the great work and bringing forward that. I'm sure the things that you do every day, you don't even think much about other than you're doing the right thing and the right work. And then to be recognized for it, for something that hasn't happened in many, many years, is a great thing. So congratulations. Thank
Yes,
you
thank
all. Thanks, Betty. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Next, public comment and communications. Julianne, I know that we've seen a few public comments come in. How many total did we receive for this meeting? Julianne?
Through snail mail. Can you hear me?
A little bit.
How about now?
Yep.
Okay, so we've received 10 total written public comments will be made part of the record for this meeting. And they have all been shared with the commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we appreciate that, and it's been shared across all commissioners. Thank you very much, Julianne. Community Services, Bernalillo County Extension Services presentation. Enrico to introduce Cynthia Davies and Extension Service to provide a update. Enrico?
Good afternoon, good evening, commissioners. We have a short, I believe, video presentation, Julianne, that was prepared to kind of highlight some of the things that the County Extension Office has been doing in general, and specifically kind of in light of the new constraints that have been kind of put in place due to the COVID pandemic. So I think we have something that we can show you that's going to kind of encapsulate all of the efforts that they've had in place recently, and it's pretty impressive.
Great, thank you.
And I believe Miss Cynthia Davies is also on. And so I will share my screen. Okay, there she is.
All right, thank you very much. I am Cindy Schlinker Davies, and I am the County Program Director for Cooperative Extension Service here in Bernalillo County. And we have done some pretty creative things, as so many have during this time. One of my agriculture agent, John Garlish, put this together for me yesterday, just kind of an update on all of the areas of county extension. And do I have that screen, Julianne, or?
I'll be running it.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you. So as we closed our doors in mid-March, as everyone else did, we immediately jumped online and started doing programs virtually, and many Zoom meetings and webinars. So we had to cancel in person, but we did not cancel totally. And we all kind of got the swing of it. So I'm proud of that. Next, please. We have done many programs in the home economics area, which is my field, but we've done a lot with health and fitness. We did some financial health work with many county residents that were laid off and had very stressful financial situations. We did a stress management 4-part series that brought over 241 people to that particular webinar series. We were able to continue our diabetes education programs online, and though it was mostly a senior population who is a part of this program, 18 of those folks were able to figure out the online effort, and they're very proud of themselves for that. The KRQE New Mexico Living segment, we've been a part of that monthly for several years, but they've really leaned on us for a lot of expertise as different topics such as parenting issues, finance and families, and just health in general have come up. So we've appreciated that opportunity. Next, please. We've done a series, we're currently doing a series called Slim and Strong, Crafting a Healthy Lifestyle. This is a 6-part series. We're right in the middle of it, and we have good participation in that, as well as a series called Keys to Embracing Aging. And this is a program that we're doing around the state of New Mexico with home economists in all the extension offices. And we reach a lot of our senior population. This has also been a very popular program. Next. You're all familiar with what happened with our great tomato plant giveaway when Bernalillo County meal site said that they could take the extra 2,000 tomato plants that were grown for a tomato plant sale by our master gardeners, and they were unable to deliver because we were shut down. So those plants found good homes at the grab and go sites. And for several weeks after we gave away these tomato plants, we had many calls to the office asking if we had any more of those good free tomato plants, because it got a lot of attention on the news and in the newspaper. So it was a fun effort. We also have been working with the UNM Cancer Center. Our master gardeners have been connecting cancer survivors with master gardeners who are interested in putting together some small gardens. And this is a picture of them doing a drive and go, putting their little gardens together. And though the cancer survivors could not meet in person with the master gardeners, they have had a lot of good phone and online communication. And from what I understand, this has been incredibly successful, and they're looking forward to next year's collaboration with UNM and New Mexico State and Master Gardeners. So this has been fun. Next, please. Our demonstration garden at the office, if you've ever been to the extension office, we have a wonderful urban farm oasis that has been active since the beginning of the pandemic. And we have up to 5 master gardeners working there at any given time, keeping social distancing, but getting the gardening done. And already since March, we have given Roadrunner Food Bank over 450 pounds of fresh produce. So by the end of the garden season, we expect that number to be close to 3,000 pounds. The extension has also had a seed library for teachers and individuals who are interested in learning gardening at home. And we have given away seeds to those folks, as well as packages of seeds to over 600 APS meal site participants and county meal site visitors. So when we ran out of tomato plants, we started in with the seeds. So it's been a good gardening year. Next, please. We've done a series on gardening with Presbyterian and APS, and this was very well attended. We had 180 participants that just finished this 4-part gardening series for adults and 2-part gardening series for children. And it was a great collaboration. We have continued to meet the needs by phone and email, answering over 500 gardening questions since March. So we can virtually collect our phone messages and emails, and we've done multiple sites visits to homes as well as small farms. And I know my ag agent was out at the zoo yesterday trying to help them figure out why certain plants were dying out there. So we've been very busy with the one-on-one site visits. Next, please. The 4-H youth program has done also a lot in gardening. They've done some recycle gardens and what's called upcycling. And the kids have been very creative in what they have been growing gardens in all sorts of different kinds of containers. So that's been a lot of fun. 4-H, of course, has been put online, and our kids have stepped up to the plate and have enjoyed themselves. Next, please. The 4-H horse program has also been very active during this time, and we continue to have great participation with kids with horses just joining in the fun. As you've all heard, the state fair is canceled, and because Bernalillo County 4-H program uses the state fairgrounds for our fair, we are also canceled. So we are putting on the 4-H County Fair, Bernalillo County Fair, on a virtual mode. So if you want to see something interesting, come log on when we have our fair, and we will show you how to show a pig from the virtual land, as well as rabbits, chickens, horses, and cows. So it should be a lot of fun, and certainly something none of us have ever imagined we'd have to do. Next, please. We're looking forward to our partnerships with the schools over the 2020 end of the school year and into 21. We have a lot of things happening in the schools with our 4-H youth programming, and we have many grants that are out there that we've been working with, providing supplies and very exciting things to our teachers and our students with 4-H youth education. Next, please. One thing that's kept us going this year is we've learned how to make videos, and a lot of them. I've done a whole series of canning videos and food preservation videos, thanks to my young agents who are absolutely fabulous at technology, which I am not. So I've been very thankful that they've been able to help keep us going. But we've done food preservation, food preparation, gardening videos, animal care, and many more. Some of our canning videos have received over 10,650 views. Who would have thought that would ever happen? So, and just to wrap it up, we at Bernalillo County Extension have a Facebook page and a 4-H Facebook page, and we have a very active and current website, bernalilloextension.nmsu.edu, and we're trying to keep that as current as possible to let people know what we're doing and how they can still get involved. Even though we are separated from each other, we are working closely together. And my staff and I thank you very much for your support and all the opportunity that we've had to serve the citizens of Bernalillo County. We consider it a privilege, and we do not take it lightly. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for the update. Any comments, questions? Commissioner Colley? No?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner O'Malley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just also want to thank Cindy and her staff. She mentioned that there was a lot of interest in gardening this year. In fact, I think that some places were running out of seeds. There was a huge interest because, of course, what else were people going to do? So they started these small gardens. I actually started a flower garden myself. I was too afraid to actually raise vegetables. I was afraid of their, their ability to survive, to be honest with you. But I just, you've done a lot of clever things to keep the interest of the community. And so, as a result of that, I think you've been very successful in reaching out. And so I want to thank you again for all the work that you've done.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Cindy, would you make sure that we get a date on when your virtual showing is going to be? I would love to look. I'll miss that this year. Thank you.
You bet. We'll do that.
Great. Well, thank you, Cindy, very much. Thank you, Enrico, for bringing that forward, and Commissioner O'Malley for your comments. Madam Clerk. Okay. Next, we'll move on to University of New Mexico Hospital Report, third quarter. CEO Kate Becker. Kate.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for making the time for us tonight. You should have our third quarter report in your packet. That's as of March 31st. I'm not going to go through it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about it. The reason I'm not going to go through it is because you may all remember that on March 4th, we stood up our Emergency Operations Center for COVID. And so actually by March 31st, what the world looked like then compared to what it looks like now is substantially different. A couple of things I do want to mention about COVID. First of all, we started our Emergency Operations Center meeting daily March 4th. So as of yesterday, that was day 117. But over that timeline, we've come down from every day to 5 days a week, to 3 days a week, to 2 days a week, to now actually next week, we will be debriefing and we'll be shutting down the sort of, I want to say in person, but it's on Zoom, but the regular human meetings, and kind of adapting to sort of life with COVID as part of the daily life of the hospital. One of the activities in our debrief will include figuring out what our triggers will be for convening the meetings again. And as we have to go back up into subsequent surges, how we approach that. Just to give you a relative idea, back at the beginning of March, we had one COVID positive patient in the hospital. We got as high as up to 50 COVID patients in the hospital in April. But as of this morning, we're down to 19.
Wow.
So what we've seen is we've gone to a really high peak, and now we're starting on a downward trend. And one thing we are very mindful of and watchful about is everybody's aware that Arizona and Texas are experiencing much more uncontrolled incidences of the infection. And so as we start to see perhaps travel across those borders, particularly with the 4th of July weekend coming up, we may start to see an increase here in our state. So everybody I know is very aware of that, but that's why it's important for us to be able to ramp those tiers of care back up and then be able to go back down again. But the good news is we've started, starting to see patients come back into the clinics, reopening clinics, scheduling those procedures that have been postponed, and getting folks the care that they need that they had to have delayed. Another unintended probably side effect of social distancing is that we saw an earlier than usual start to our trauma season. So summer is always a period of trauma for us, but with people, I think, having been cooped up for so long, as people began to have restrictions eased, we saw more car accidents, more people outdoors having different kinds of accidents. It was just more people in trauma. So the hospital is actually, again, you all know about our capacity problems. And during the early part of COVID, March and April, there were a lot of people that weren't coming to the hospital, but now we're starting to see that fill back up again. So,
Hey, Kate, where are we at with that? I mean, I know you've told us that you put forth a proposal. Is it on hold? Are we good? Are you approved to build the hospital? Are you?
I'm going to give you a construction update. So that was perfect timing.
Look at that. Didn't even know.
Approval of the construction project is actually a 3-phase project. Phase 1 was approved by HED and the State Board of Finance just a month ago. And so we've actually started that construction. So if you've driven down Lomas, you might have seen some of the signs for road work and other construction. Phase 1 is actually on Yale, going north from Lomas up to Camino del Salud. That's taking out that roundabout, rerouting that street, and putting in the utilities that will be needed along that line. Phase 2 is the new parking garage, which will be about 1,500 spaces. That'll be on the north side of the site near Camino del Salud. And that's triple our current parking garage size. So that's exciting. I know everybody who's ever parked in our current parking garage will be happy to be in a bigger garage. And then phase 3 will be the building of the new tower. So our scheduled opening date is still October 2024. We're still on track, and we still continue to be planning for that as our projected opening date. So those were the updates for me. Questions?
So real quick, regarding, we're down to 19, which is great. I know Richard Clark gives us a daily update regarding the state and what's happening, and how is the type of patient that you're seeing, has it been consistent across the board from beginning to high to low in terms of who gets hospitalized versus who doesn't, from the standpoint of immediacy of if you contract COVID?
So what we're starting to see both here across the state and in other parts of the country is the incidence of folks who are hospitalized for COVID, the age group is moving younger. So at first we had many more older patients that were being hospitalized. What may be happening is that older people are taking the social distancing more seriously, self-isolating. They're just coming into less contact with the virus. Younger people, particularly as restaurants are opening and people are socializing more, they may not be as mindful of those things we all still need to be doing. And so we're starting to see younger patients who are hospitalized.
With or without pre-existing conditions?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, it's become more variable. When we started, you know, it was very much more people with a variety of pre-existing conditions.
Right.
That is becoming still, obviously, it happens, but we were starting to see people who otherwise seem to be healthy. So nobody really knows yet, and I know there's a lot of national discussion going on about research into why that is and what's happening. But that's why in places like Texas and Arizona, you see them going back into closing things and closing bars and closing restaurants to try to reduce that sort of spread among younger people.
And then my last final question, and so I don't monopolize, are you good with PPE equipment? Are you okay with what you need?
We are, and thank you for asking. I really want to give kudos to two committees of our infection prevention and control group. One is the testing committee, which has been very active in working on testing protocols and making sure that we have things in line. We test every inpatient in the hospital, for example. And the other is the PPE committee, which has just done a fantastic job of providing tons of guidance, making sure we have appropriate PPE, and making sure our folks are kept safe.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kate.
Thanks.
Other comments, questions by Ms. Becker?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Colley, then Commissioner O'Malley.
Kate, welcome. Glad you're here. Thanks for your time and coming. I have, I think, a two-part question. One is there were some volunteer kind of procedures that people didn't come in for, but there were some things you couldn't avoid. You couldn't avoid major trauma kind of car accidents, but at the same time, what happened to the kind of usual flow of addictive behaviors? You had people who come in off the street, who need treatment, who you can't say no to. Did that continue at the same pace? Did you develop other ways of handling them? What did you do with those normal cases you couldn't avoid handling?
Well, for people who were admitted to the hospital, that would continue. The things that we heard about being postponed and being canceled were things that we call elective.
Right.
So it was things where it wasn't of a time sensitive urgency. And even those things, I think there is a time element to many of them. So one good example is, you know, cataract surgery. If you have to wait 3 months to get cataract surgery, you can wait 3 months. Cancer surgery, you probably can't wait 3 months, but it doesn't have to be done today. So really that balance. But from a psychiatric hospitalization perspective, we did continue to have patients inpatient on the psychiatric hospital.
My second question kind of follows right from that, and that is we're real proud of the fact that the county and the hospital are going together to build a 7-day wait 24-hour walk-in clinic. What are time frames on that? What's going to happen when?
For the crisis triage center?
Right.
Yeah. So happy to have Margarita chime in on this, but our next upcoming meeting is to talk about location for that and begin to walk through what the timeline is for approvals, because like everything else that we do, we go through the regents and the Board of Finance and HED and all of those things. So we'll figure out sort of geographically, what are we thinking about, and scope, what are we thinking about with Margarita and that team, and then we'll start working through that approval process.
So not by January?
No.
Thought I'd ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Colley. Commissioner O'Malley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Ms. Becker, are you saying though that because of because I would have the question about the triage center as well.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, maybe that's changed, we were thinking of that it would somehow be attached to the new hospital. And are we saying now that that's not necessarily so, because we have, you know, this is one of the priorities that we've had for a long time, actually since we approved moving forward with a tax. So we've had folks, this was one of the primary projects that we were going to launch, and it's been now for, it's been years.
Yeah, so what we've done working with the county is talk about what are the services we can do now, how can we transition into expanding services, for example, with the care campus, and then what do we move to with a crisis triage center next. And so together we engaged SG2, the hospital engaged them to do a study of behavioral health needs in the community, and we got that, I guess about, must have been 6 months ago, it was pre-COVID. And now we're working through the MOU that we have to go ahead and move forward with development of the crisis triage center. I think one good question is whether that is a freestanding building or part of a psychiatric hospital. It would not be part of the new hospital. The new hospital is operating rooms and intensive care unit beds. But in terms of planning for, is it a building by itself or is it a building that eventually is adjacent to or contiguous to new adult inpatient psychiatric beds? I think that should be part of our planning as we get ready to do that. But we understand the importance of the project to the county. And that's why we're moving forward with finding a site, getting it organized, and getting underway for the commitment that we have to create it. And I don't know if Margarita wants to speak to kind of where we are in that process.
I have an additional question. Is it a bricks and mortar type of issue, or is it programming? Is it people? And do we have a facility that maybe could be renovated or something like that? Is it about a building?
I think, I don't know that it's about a building. I think it's about making sure we have the right services in the right place. And I think some of the thinking around it has evolved over time in terms of what's available at what used to be MATS and what do we want to do as part of the inpatient side and what do we want to do as more decentralized services. So I think it's just a planning process really, but no, I don't think, I wouldn't say it is a bricks and mortar issue or a people issue. It's a, let's make sure we have the right plan and move forward with it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do have a question for Ms. Our manager. Julie, we've had this MOU out there for some time. How long have we had that MOU out there? And what is it? Are we anticipating that it's going to get amended in some way, or what's the holdup?
Chairman, Commissioner O'Malley. So we actually just amended the MOU with UNMH, and that's because when COVID hit, we had to extend the time. As you remember, the time that UNMH was going to basically let us know where the site would be. And because of when COVID happened, they had to push that timeline from, I believe it was from April to August, correct, Kate? I think
Yes.
that was what it was. But just so you know, Mr. Chair, Commissioner O'Malley, so what we have been doing with UNMH, just so that you understand that we are still proceeding with the intent of the Crisis Triage Center, is at the CARES campus, they're now administering a medical model instead of just the social model with the assistance from UNMH. That's part of what would be happening at the Crisis Triage Center. And then at the facility, the UNMH facility over on Marble Street, UNMH is currently renovating the facility to have a social model implemented into that, which is part of what we would be doing at the Crisis Triage Center. So yes, and I agree with you. We're all really anxious. We've been telling you and we've been telling the public, this is what we're going to do with our behavioral health money. So I can certainly understand the concern, and we're very, very anxious to get this facility built on UNMH's or UNM's property.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Commissioner
Thank you,
O'Malley.
Commissioner O'Malley. Thank you. Margarita, did you have anything to add to that? You good? Thumbs up. All right. I like that. Our live emoji. All right. Thank you, Ms. Becker, very much. Appreciate the update. It was a lively conversation, and thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on. Now we've got County Manager I think, did we move this one? Is this one of the ones we moved, or no, we're good with this one? I don't remember.
Yeah, this
Mr.
one is scheduled as
Sorry, I know you're breaking up. Did we
Mr.
move this one,
Chairman?
Julie?
I think we're good to
sorry,
go
not sure
on
if you can
this
hear me
one.
now, but this one was not moved at the start.
Okay, all right, good. Then we'll leave it with Julie, Emergency Management Ordinance Powers Action Report. Julie, thank you.
Okay, sure thing. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, what I wanted to do was just basically acknowledge and report to you the order of postponement for the implementation of the Employee Wellness Act, and also extending the suspension of the single-use plastic ban ordinance. I think on the latter, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So we're just going to extend suspending the single-use plastic bags until the order is rescinded, basically. But on the other, I just first want to say that I don't ever want to undermine the majority of the Commission's decision to implement the Employee Wellness Act, but I really felt very strongly that, as everybody knows, the COVID pandemic has put a heavy burden on the businesses. And currently, they're having to lay off employees or furlough employees. And they're trying very, very hard just to stay in business. And so I really felt that so basically it's just extending the implementation of the PTO, the paid time off ordinance. I guess we renamed it what is it?
Employee wellness.
Yes, employee wellness. And so I just feel that if the 3-month delay results in some businesses staying open, so instead of shutting down because of thin margins and reduced revenues, then there will be an employment platform for PTO to be implemented and employees to accrue the time. So, and everybody knows employees can't accrue their time if their job has been eliminated. So it's just, again, no disrespect to the majority of the commission for their vote on this, but it was a hard decision to make, and also keeping the employees in mind. I know they're struggling, but if they don't have their jobs, what are they going to do? So, and that's why I opted to go ahead and extend or postpone the implementation of this until October 1st. It's 3 months, and that's about as long as we've been stressed out here with this COVID pandemic. So with that, I respectfully am open to any questions that you may all have. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
All right, we got a bunch. All right, so Commissioner Colley and Commissioner Piscotti, then we'll keep going.
My impression of the agenda, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we talk about the commission's response to the county manager's action at 11B. That all we are doing at this point is simply putting it in the record that those actions were taken.
Yes, that is correct. So the agenda item before you is for the county manager to make record of the executive order. And then later in the agenda is Commissioner O'Malley's sponsored item.
Commissioner Piscotti?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify one thing. County Manager Julie, you said twice that you don't want to undermine the majority of the commissioners. And it's my understanding that you asked all 5 commissioners if they were on board with delaying the implementation, and 4 out of the 5 commissioners did support you in delaying that. So behind this emergency order, first of all, you had unanimous support to give you the emergency powers back in March, and then 4 of the 5 commissioners supported the delay of the implementation of the Employee Wellness Act. So I just wanted to clarify that you do have the majority support.
Thank you, Commissioner Piscotti.
Commissioner Casada, do you have anything, or Commissioner O'Malley?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, we all know that it's important that the decision that we made and the Employee Wellness Act had passed through Bernalillo County. I think if anybody watched the city council meeting last night, they kicked the can down the road. I think if anybody should be upset with anybody, they should be upset with how the city and the state are handling this situation. I think we were the first ones to look at many different aspects of COVID, and this is unfortunately one of those things that is collateral damage to what we wanted to implement and push forward right away. But I think what we can do as a commission is listen to staff, listen to county manager. I'm hoping and praying that it doesn't take the whole 3 months to get staff up and ready to do this. I think it's important on both sides of the community that we look at both sides and take care of both sides of the issue. I think maybe there's something in the county that we could do later down on the agenda and look at some funding to help businesses when they have employees that are affected with COVID, that we could support testing, that we could support more PPE, and some of the things and some of the arguments of, hey, don't delay the Employment Wellness Act because we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's a valid argument. It's a valid point. But I think as the county, since we are the ones willing to bite the bullet on this, the ones who took the risk to implement the Employee Wellness Act, I think we also could be the leaders of the community to help businesses deal with employees that are dealing with this. We know that we just can't leave our employees out there and hang them out to dry. But this is about implementing it. This is about staff being able to monitor it and make sure that what we put forward, that we are on top of it. And if we're not ready to be on top of it, what can we do to supplement that? And I think there might be opportunities tonight, I believe, to really assist the community, and especially, where this takes effect, which is the unincorporated part of Bernalillo County, and help and be part of who we're supposed to be, which is the solution to the problems that arise. And I think what we've done here at the county is remarkable because we were able to compromise. Not everybody got what they wanted, including me. And including everybody that voted this and got it through. And again, I'll just repeat, I watched the meeting last night and there was no compromise. There's no resolve. I guarantee you they'll continue to keep kicking that can down the road while we're the ones who are, Bernalillo County is the one who is going to make sure that this is going to happen. And I think there's other things we can do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner O'Malley?
Yeah, I'll save my comments for the item, the item on
Okay.
later on. Thank you.
Commissioner Colley?
Are you ready for a motion on item 6C?
Yeah, there's no, that's just an acknowledgement. I don't think there's a motion needed.
No, there's
on
no
that.
motion.
The motion is that we receive the report of the manager and spread it upon the minutes.
We
Okay.
don't,
But yeah, it's just, appreciate it. Commissioner Piscotti?
It looks like we're closing discussion. I just wanted to mention that there's already a federal requirement for employee paid leave. It's the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and the city of Albuquerque was really working off of that piece of federal legislation. And so if people are interested, they can just Google that, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and it basically lays out what the requirements are for employer paid leave right now, that's in effect right now, that covers the same employers we're talking about here. So the county isn't leaving people hanging. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say, we gave Julie the power, to make the right decisions. And what happened was, had March not come around, had COVID not come around, then most likely we would put forth a program We would have had training. We would have met face to face. We would have worked with businesses, not virtually, but in the way that we normally do business, and probably could have put something out July 1st. However, since that wasn't the case, and to Charlene's point, I wish people would read the details of what the federal government is doing to protect employees in spite of what cities, counties, and states are doing. And the CARES Act related to COVID means if you're an employee and you work for any employer and you have a COVID related situation that occurs, you get taken care of. You get time off, you get paid, you get testing. All of those things are covered through that act. And then the business can go back if they need to get reimbursed for that and get credits for that. And so the misnomer that just because we don't have an Employee Wellness Act, that we are not taking care of unincorporated county employees and businesses is just not true. It's not true. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Chair, since you and Commissioner Piscotti brought it up, the federal program is if it's COVID related. So it doesn't cover if individuals, for example, want to take their children to the doctor, if they have to go to the doctor for something else that's COVID. I just want to clarify that. Yes, it is a program if it's COVID related. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so number 7, approval of minutes. I make a motion that we approve the minutes from June 9th. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Casada. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Colley,
Aye.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Aye.
Chairman Talbert.
Aye.
So called.
Thank you so much. I now move on to item 8, which is the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please provide resolution numbers for items 8B, or excuse me, 8A, 8B, 8F, 8G, and 8Q.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner O'Malley.
I would like to remove a couple of items from the consent agenda just for further clarification. That would be let's see, B4 and E.
Okay. Is there a second?
So,
It doesn't require a second.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
It doesn't
Sorry.
require a second, I don't think.
Kenny?
I don't believe it requires a second. I think any member can move an item from consent.
Okay. So, Julianne, where would we move B4 and E?
So I'm understanding, so that would be 8 to D. I don't know which one the 8.4 is, but the E, we would move to approvals as 11.
11 what? I'm sorry.
E as an Edward.
Okay. And then it's, 8B4.
It would be, Mr. Chair, it's B4, B4?
Yeah, under 8. 8,
Okay.
number 8, B4.
Okay.
Okay, so then that one would be heard under adoption of resolutions, item 10D.
Okay. You're the scribe. Keep me honest when we get there.
Got it.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Just a moment, sir. I'm catching up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okie dokie. I think I'm ready. 8A1 is FR 2020-61. A2 is FR 2020-62. B1 is FR 2020-63. We come down to F. F1 is
Madam
FR.
Clerk, if I could interrupt you. We had to move the entire agenda item 8B down.
Whole
So,
thing. All right.
yes, correct.
Well, hold on a second here.
So your next resolution will start with F, which should be 63.
63. Okay, so we come down to F2, which will be FR 2020-63. G1 is in George, FR 2020-64. And Q1 will be FR 2020-65. Correct, Julie?
That is correct.
All right, good job.
Sweet. So I move to approve the consent agenda with the changes so forth mentioned. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Casada. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Roll call, Madam Clerk, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Colley,
Aye.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
thank you. Commissioner Piscotti,
Aye.
Commissioner Talbert,
Aye.
no call, sir.
Sweet. Thank you very much. All right. So now, page 4, number 9, adoption of ordinance amendment to county code. Public hearing. Madam Clerk, please provide an ordinance number for items 9A, B, and C.
Yes, sir. A is ordinance 2020-16. B is 2020-17. C is 2020-18.
Thank you very much. Hearing that, are there, as regarding economic development, industrial revenue bond, New Mexico Fresh, Mei Ling?
Mr. Chair, the Commission, the Economic Development staff recommends the approval of the ordinance authorizing the Bernalillo County Commission to approve an industrial revenue bond on behalf of New Mexico Fresh Foods LLC in the amount up to $9 million. The New Mexico Fresh Foods LLC ordinance approves the issuance of the bonds as well as the bond documents, indenture, lease agreement, and bond purchase agreement. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you so much, Mei Ling. This is a great opportunity for another local New Mexico business to actually open up in Bernalillo County with a product that I think is already garnering national attention through Whole Foods and a number of other sort of those kind of sprouts, and to be done, right here. So I like that. There is no comments were received for public hearing. Any comments, thoughts before I move to approve this? Okay. I move that we approve item 9A, Economic Development Industrial Revenue Bond for New Mexico Fresh. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Piscotti and Commissioner Casada. Thank you so much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mei Ling. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Colley,
Aye.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Aye.
Chairman Talbert.
Aye. Thank you so
No
much, Madam
call,
Clerk.
sir. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm sorry? Okay, item 9B, Planning Development Services Nuisance Abatement Ordinance. Is this Planning and Development? Is that Enrico?
Good evening, I believe me.
Okay.
This is, hi, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, good evening. I'm Lucas Tafoya with the Planning Development Services Department. I'm the acting director. We are requesting adoption of the nuisance abatement ordinance. Julianne, if you have access to those photos, please go ahead and scroll those. And no particular order, you can scroll. The intention of the nuisance abatement the nuisance abatement ordinance is to protect public health, welfare, and safety of the community. This ordinance will target the worst properties where the owner is unable or unwilling to abate unsafe conditions. These unsafe conditions or hazards include unsafe structures, including burned down buildings, electrical and gas hazards, surfacing sewage, insects and rodents, attractive nuisance and illegal activity, including squatters, drug activity, and human trafficking. They're particular hazards for the Sheriff's Department and fire officials when they have to access these properties. Overall, these are a blight on our community. This ordinance will support multiple other ordinances and departments, including enhancement of activities related to the Sheriff's Department, Fire Department. This
How do
ordinance
people
will,
live in these places?
right.
Oh my God.
It is difficult. It's difficult to see and it's difficult to inspect, and yeah, it's something we can affect some change on. There is an internal process involved with these properties there's plenty of ways we can deal with this, but we're going to be doing it in an internal administrative process, and that involves always trying to get the property owner to first correct the problems if they are able to. If not,
so Lucas, let me stop you real quick. I just got a question. So everything you've just shown me here, okay, there's no way that gets fixed. So how long will this process take? Because I think, at least what I'm looking at here, that process, there needs to be an expedited path, because that is public safety 101 disaster. So if it's going to take 6 months or 8 months or 12 months, that's not fast enough. We need to, like, within 30 days, post a sign and say, fix it or you're out, because that is not safe. So how long are we talking?
Mr. Chair, we're talking days. If we have to give the opportunity of the property owner to take corrective action. If not, we can take corrective action on immediate life and health safety issues. So that would involve boarding up properties or gating them off, and then taking it through the next steps in the process, and then going through a clean and lean type situation. So that would go through a hearing officer, and if the hearing officer supports staff decision, it would go in front of the county commissioner as a consent item, and then again, I think it's 30 or 60 days, there would be a comment period, or if somebody wanted to challenge that. If not, we're ready to go. We'll have the contractors bidding on the process during that time, and as soon as that's exhausted, the time frame is exhausted, we're ready.
Okay, sorry to cut you off. Again, if you're telling me it's months, then I think we're missing the boat. We need to be able to move. I mean, Chief Perez can tell you, I'm sure, how many times, as you mentioned, fire comes upon something like that, because it's squatters who are in there and they're putting people at risk, not only themselves, but the people around them. So, sorry.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Well, that's an easy one. Madam Clerk, ordinance, please, for item 9B. Did you already give me that?
Yes, sir. 2020-17.
Beautiful. Thank you. I move that we approve 9B. There is no public hearing comments received. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Piscotti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, Lucas. Didn't mean to cut you off, but that was pretty evident. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Colley.
Aye, but I also wanted to hear from Enrico, who had something to throw into that.
Oh, good. Sorry, I missed that. Thank you, Commissioner Colley.
Chairman Talbert, Commissioner Colley, I hope you can hear me. I've got not a whole lot more to add other than what Lucas presented. This is the only thing I can add is I just want to make the commission aware that this, along with some of the work that Roger Paul has done with Public Works along Pro Rata, in addition to that, some of the work that Lisa Cedillo-White has done in amending the procurement ordinance, these are all things that were made possible by the county charter that was relatively recently adopted by Bernalillo County. So these are the types of things that we can do now that give the county a little bit more control, and create internal processes that save time, streamline procedures, and allow us to abate nuisances and do other things that are at a great interest to the community. So it's something we've been working on for quite some time, and I hope that this is going to help our legal staff because we take a lot of these things through the court system now, and it is very lengthy. So this creates a little bit better and more straightforward path to kind of get some of these things fixed. And we're really, really happy for your support. I thank you.
Thank you, Enrico. Thank you, Commissioner Colley. Sorry I missed that opportunity for you to jump in. Thank you. Okay, so we got an ordinance number. We got a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, roll call.
We will go back. Commissioner Colley.
Aye.
Commissioner Casada.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti.
Aye.
Chairman Talbot.
Aye.
So called, sir.
Thank you so much. All right, Economic Development, Project Revenue Bond, PRB for the Commons at Martinez Town. Is that Mei Ling again? Item C, Mei Ling.
Commissioner, I'm sorry. I was answering a phone call.
Dude, you knew you were coming up. Come on, man.
Mr.
Let's
Chairman,
go.
members of the commission, the Economic Development staff recommends the Bernalillo County's Commission approval of an amendment to the ordinance relating to the project revenue bond application on behalf of Albuquerque Housing Authority in the amount of up to $7.5 million. The notice of intent for the amendment was approved by the Board for County Commissioners at the May 12th administrative meeting. This ordinance approves the amendment to the ordinance as well as the borrower loan agreement. I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioner O'Malley.
I move approval.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments? All right, no comments received for public hearing, so we're good there. We already got an ordinance number. I second Commissioner O'Malley. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Colley.
Aye.
Commissioner Casada.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti.
Aye.
Chairman Talbot.
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, number 10, adoption of resolution. Madam Clerk, we need numbers 10A, 10B, and 10C.
Well, let's try this because Julie, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we move B 1, 2, 3, and 4 to B under 10?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
the
and
entire-
D.
that was 8B was moved to resolutions as 10E and Edward.
Wait a minute. In
So your next number to issue is 65.
okay, so 10A is AR 2020-65. Is that correct, ma'am?
Correct.
Okay. So then we've got AR 2020-66.
Correct.
And AR 2020-67.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think we're good to go, sir.
Awesome. There we go. Now we're rolling along. Okay. Paseo del Volcan. Motion to approve administrative resolution that we just got. Commissioner Casada.
I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner O'Malley.
thank you. I do have a number of comments and I'd like to address this particular
Okay.
item. I had asked, Julie, could you please put up a map of the of that area where Paseo del Volcan is proposed?
Will do. Just give me a second.
I think you have a copy of that. Enrico sent that to me. Thank.
Let me know if you see it.
I do. I guess I can make it a little bigger just by pinching it and opening up. That's good. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First of all, and if we could get, you can see where Atrisco Vista Road exists. If you could point that out. And that is where the Upper Petroglyph Industrial Park is. That's where, if you can see on the satellite map, you can see Tempur-Pedic there. And that's where the new Amazon is getting built. And then you can see the Paseo del Volcan alignment, if you could point that out with Oh, who can do that right there? That's the proposed alignment. Is it on there? Yes, okay. And you could see that this whole area is actually in District 1. Further west, but still in District 1, is the village of Tohajali, which I will talk about later. And because this is in my district, I have taken responsibility to know and understand the area, who the major property owners are, and their intentions to develop their properties. As you can see, the major property owner, well, I guess you could just circle it, it's not identified, but the major property owner in this area is Western Albuquerque Land Holdings, a partnership with other investors, which I believe still includes Barclays Bank in the UK. As you can see, Atrisco Vista heading west is 3/4 complete and connects to Paseo del Norte. And if you could identify that. Okay. And the area where the proposed alignment to extend Atrisco Vista Road, however, is not owned by Wall. The proposed alignment for Paseo del Volcan is in the reserve, unplanned area in Bernalillo County, which is owned by Wall and Quail Ranch. The two major landowners would be the biggest beneficiaries of this proposed road. When I first came into office, I met with the asset managers for Wall, the Garrett Development Group, and while they said they supported completing Atrisco Vista, their priority was to pursue or get the entitlements for Paseo del Volcan. Why? Well, they have a lot of land to entitle, thousands of acres. As empty land with no infrastructure, it has very little value. And the area parcels that they do own along Atrisco Vista, which is the industrial park, those are already entitled. So Atrisco Vista is not a priority for them. And we just put 7 million in infrastructure, which benefits them again as landowners. One of those parcels was sold to Amazon. So their interest in Atrisco Vista, in my opinion, is pretty much done, though it's not for the county. We want, we have a priority to extend it. So as asset managers, the Garrett Group was hired to entitle acres and acres of property, which is to make it more valuable. They now have most of those entitlements other than water for example, Santalina, which is outlined in blue. So it's really on, for them, it's on to the next Santalina, or Estrella, as they're calling it, where the proposed Paseo del Volcan is located. I cannot support adding Paseo del Volcan to our priority list for funding at the state legislature for several reasons. First, the only priority north-south road on the west side for Bernalillo County should be Atrisco Vista. I know that Sandoval County has been resistant to extending it because they don't benefit from the property and gross receipts tax. But Bernalillo County does, and I am going to do what is in the best interest of Bernalillo County. Atrisco Vista is planned as a four-lane highway with a separate bike lane, and if completed, will reduce traffic congestion along Unser and Paseo del Norte, and will give Rio Rancho residents direct access to Amazon and other employers, despite not giving them Sandoval County the tax benefits they're seeking. Also, I've always been a supporter of incremental development, not leapfrog development to profit a landowner. As was stated by Commissioner Quesada at the last meeting, Paseo del Volcan is planned as a freeway with several interchanges. But the financial analysis provided is for a 2-lane road, a country road with an estimated cost of $100 million. That was in our packet. The estimated cost of a freeway with all the proposed interchanges is close to $400 million. And the question is, who's going to pay for this road?
Oh,
the developer? Well, so far the state is paying for it.
That's funny. 67,
So I have
68.
some questions about road sequencing, and I'm going to ask Elias, who is
After
in
that.
Public Works, about road
Tonight.
sequencing.
So that's
here.
where we go, 8B. Already, ma'am.
What is the what are
Madam
the
Clerk,
priorities?
sorry, Madam Clerk,
Okay,
go to
thanks.
mute. Sorry, Debbie. Madam
Yeah.
Clerk, go to mute, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Malley?
Yeah, and Elias is here with Public Works, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about what the sequencing for the roads that are out there in terms of priorities for the county.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner O'Malley, I'm Elias Archuleta. I'm Director of Technical Services for Bernalillo County Public Works. So right now, out on along the Atrisco Vista corridor and in that West Mesa part of the county, we have two master plans that encompass the two roadways, Atrisco Vista and Paseo de Volcan, that we're speaking of. And on the map, if you, Julianne, if you can bring that map back up, on that map, you can see we have on the north side of I-40, we have the Upper Petroglyphs sector plan, which is outlined in green. And on the south end, we have the Santolina master plan, which is outlined in blue. Along with each of those master plans are identified the roadway networks that are required to be built along with those developments. As right now, the Atrisco Vista serves as the primary north-south connector in the area, and the road networks that serve those entitled properties within those subdivisions or master plans and sector plans are served off of that backbone infrastructure. So at this point, with regards to what is included regarding the Paseo de Volcan corridor under the Sonolina Level B1 master plan, we've identified that the interchange of I-40 and Paseo de Volcan is shown as a system improvement that would be required in the 2040 timeframe. And with regards to the contributions related to who is required to finance that, the county has a 10% requirement, and the developer in this case, which was Wall, is required to cover 90% of that. As we move north, you can see that we don't have as the commissioner stated, there are not any plans approved for the reserve area along Paseo de Volcan, either southern area, which is Wall, or in that northern area north of Double Eagle Airport, which is black properties. So at this point, with regards to our sequencing of construction, we will follow those approved plans that will identify how we construct the east-west connectors along Atrisco Vista, both north and south of I-40, and then the networks within those master plans.
Thank you. I'm just going to continue. So right now, to be honest, the proposed Paseo de Volcan has no private dollars. All the funding so far has come from government, primarily to the state, to acquire properties and for the plan. The asset managers have valued the land they're contributing to make it sound as if they've contributed actual dollars. But what is most disturbing to me, though, about this request to make it a county priority is that even though we have spent millions of dollars to date in actual dollars and staff time in assisting Wall to develop their property over the last several years, not to mention what the state has spent, they continue to deny the village of To'Hajiilee access to clean water. You would think that after knowing that we as a commission decided to move forward with possible condemnation or right of way through their property to provide access to water to To'Hajiilee, that Wall would have come to the table to work something out. Instead, they have indicated to their attorney that they are not interested, which is shocking to me, especially given that the Navajo Nation is willing to pay for the use of the right-of-way and for all the infrastructure. I have a copy of an email from Ted Garrett, the asset manager for Wall, in response to the engineers for To'Hajiilee, requesting a meeting for them, asking to obtain right-of-way for a water line to serve To'Hajiilee, dated September 2018, and I quote, "Thank you for your email requesting an easement for a water line across Wall property to the 7W reservoir. Wall has reviewed your request and is not interested in pursuing a discussion for such an easement. Again, thank you for your time and have a nice day. Best regards, Ted Garrett. That was 2 years ago. That village, those families could have had water today, right now today, but for, in my opinion, corporate greed. It's interesting, we've had many discussions lately about racism, about the significance of historic monuments, etc. But what about the continued practice of institutional racism? Yet this is a very problem that we have to confront and dismantle, institutional racism. Barclays Bank, like many financial institutions, for example, profited from the slave trade. Yes, that was many years ago because it was lucrative business. We all know that the Navajo Nation has the highest cases of COVID than any other last meeting stated in support of Pasilivocon Khan that the development on the west side was long overdue because of the inequities that the west side communities have had to endure in terms of services and infrastructure. And I say, what about equity for the families and children of the village of To'Hajiilee? I'm stating now that I will not consider supporting any additional legislation or funding that will benefit Wall's land holdings until they agree to grant right-of-way, and I would hope that it would be at no cost, the right-of-way necessary to build the infrastructure to deliver water from the Albuquerque Water Authority Tank 7W to the village of To'Hajiilee. And if not done soon, I will ask that we move to condemn that right-of-way as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. So there was a motion by Commissioner Casada, second by Commissioner Talbert. All in favor?
Albert, if we can just get a correction on the resolution numbers quickly. You have to go back, start with 66. Just, Madam Clerk, did you want to take it from there?
Okay, thanks, Julie. Sorry, Chairman. And I'm sorry I was not muted. 10A, we're going to go back to that, and that will be AR 2020-66. B will be 67. C will be 68. And then as we go back to 8B, it'll be 69 and 70. AR, sorry.
Okay.
FR, the last two are FR, 69 and 70.
You good, Julianne?
We're good, thank you.
Awesome, okay. Thank you. All right, we have a first by Commissioner Casada, second by Commissioner Talbert. Voting on Pasilivocon Khan. All in favor, say aye.
Is there any other discussion allowed?
Sure, I didn't know you wanted to speak. Sure, Commissioner Colley, sorry.
I've heard some serious concerns, and I would appreciate it if Commissioner Casada would respond to what Commissioner O'Malley said. And if
It's his choice to do or not do. So
if it's not the appropriate time or place to do that, then I request that this matter be put off until such time as this serious conversation can be held. Really?
Commissioner Casada, you comfortable with where you're at?
I move for approval.
I
safety personnel or police personnel to require that they acquire and purchase and adopt body cameras. And that's something, of course, that we've been talking about on the commission for some time. So I move approval.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. Got a second from Commissioner Piscotti. Kenny, real quick, just for point of order, for the Sheriff's Department relative to administrative resolutions, things of this nature, the state requiring things of that nature trumps anything we would do. Bad word, choice of word. It supersedes anything we would do, correct?
That's correct. In fact, we've been looking at this issue, and you recall that the commission has appropriated funds for body-worn cameras, but it's the sheriff's, the policy decision maker, whether or not he would implement that as a constitutionally elected officer. This now is state action, and I think it passes the muster on a state action to do it. However, we probably could not have done it on county action alone. And so it's answered that long pending question.
Got it. Thank you so much. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve Commissioner O'Malley resolution supporting comprehensive Senate Bill number 8 requiring law enforcement. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Colley.
Aye.
Commissioner Casada.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti.
Aye.
Chairman Talbert.
Aye.
So call, sir.
Thank you so much. We are now on to 10C, resolution supporting legislation requiring police officers to utilize cameras. Commissioner Casada.
So I guess this is fairly mute since we just voted on item B, which is also basically a support for cameras. I guess my comment would be that, I've had conversations with law enforcement. Their argument is that this doesn't help them become better officers, that money could be utilized in other places. But my comment is this is about transparency. This is about, us representing our constituents in a manner that is important to them. Being a man of color and have been pulled over many, many times in my lifetime based just on the color of my skin. And when there is not a camera present, how do we feel? How safe do we feel? What were the procedures that went down during that traffic stop? Has always, not only scarred me, but I'm very well aware of what can and what cannot happen when transparency is not in the forefront of law enforcement and, working with the community. For that matter, everybody should wear a camera, in my opinion, from, EMTs, firefighters, everybody, it's about transparency. It's about how our dollars are being used and spent. It's not about making them spending money on law enforcement per se, but it's about accountability and transparency. So I guess we could pass it. It doesn't matter one way or the other on this, since we just passed item 10B, which means, we're supporting what is happening not only in New Mexico, but throughout the country.
Thank you. Well, yes, Commissioner Piscotti.
I move to approve.
I would second that. Commissioner Colley.
I'll third it. I also want to speak in favor of it.
Please.
I differ from Commissioner Casada because he says it may not be useful. I think it's extremely useful. I think all of us are getting mail and contacts from constituents in our district of every ethnic background, of every heritage, of every skin color, saying this is an important thing for our community and we need to do it. So I appreciate both of these resolutions. I think there's a little difference between them that's useful, and it seems to me important for us to take up both.
Thank you.
Agree. All right. We have a first, a second, and a third. I'm sure a fourth and a fifth, and we're going to hear that through the vote. So all in favor of Commissioner Casada's AR resolution, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with first, second, thirds, fourths, and fifths. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Colley,
Aye.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Aye.
Chairman Talbot.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, now we're on to 11 approvals.
Okay,
County,
let's go back to the item that was taken off consent. That was originally 8B.
oh, yeah, thank you. Okay, yes, so budget FY21 budget adjustments, 4 components. Commissioner O'Malley, did you want to speak to that first, and then Deputy County Manager Reagan fill in the gaps? Commissioner O'Malley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Reagan, for some reason, I was having a hard time downloading the supporting documents. So could you sort of describe where this money was set aside, where are we putting it now?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner O'Malley, this is Shirley Reagan, Deputy County Manager for Finance. When you set the money aside, we had it in fund balance. So when I read the legislation, it said we had a 90-day implementation period.
Right.
So in the summer break, I was trying to be proactive and appropriate the dollars, but hold them in general county so that if the project proceeded, the funding would be there to support it. So I wasn't putting it in the sheriff's budget or anything like that. It was just being proactive.
And I just wanted to make sure about that, Shirley, because the resolution that set it aside originally was that we would have a cooperative agreement to to move forward. There would be a collaborative effort to move forward with the program. So thank you. Now I understand.
Yes, we were planning on taking it through IT governance. So we would have representatives from legal, the sheriff's department, IT, procurement, everybody that would be involved in understanding what it is we needed to do. So I was just getting everything ready so we could be prepared. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would move approval.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. A second? Commissioner Colley? Commissioner Colley, Commissioner Casada. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Colley,
Aye.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Aye.
Chairman Talbot.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Julianne, for keeping me on track. Okay. Now, approvals. Item 11A. County Assessor to present Property Valuation Maintenance Program. Madam Assessor, Ms. Giddings.
Good evening. This is my second time actually using Zoom, so bear with me. I'm more about Microsoft Teams now. So good evening, Chair and Board of Commissioners. Great to see everybody this evening. So it's a 34-page document. I'm not going to go over 34 pages with you. So, but I will just try and hit on the highlights of the program. On the call with me are two of my deputies, Michelle Aguilar and Bobby Espinosa. So if there's any questions after my presentations that I can't answer, I'm going to refer to them as well. Okay. So real quick, I am proud to present the Assessor's Property Valuation Maintenance Program and Annual Report in accordance with NMSA 7-36-16 Section E and 7-38-38.1 Section D of the Mexico Property Tax Code. In order to maintain current and correct property values for the county assessor implements a program that includes collecting and maintaining relevant information in order to apply appropriate statutory valuation methods. The property valuation program is funded statutorily through property tax revenue and adequate funding for the program benefits the property owners of Bernalillo County through current and correct property values. The goal of the property valuation program is to value parcels within the county, which includes residential, commercial, livestock, and business personal property accounts, and also apply all legal exemptions and special methods of valuation. So the program purpose and outline is to, again, maintain valuations for the 285,418 real property parcels and personal property accounts that were mailed out for the 2020 notice of values, with a net that has a net taxable value, protested value of 17.2 billion. The program outline is we processed, reviewed, and performed analysis on 20,001 property transfers and ownership changes for real property. If you want a breakdown, that's of course in page 5 of the report. As far as 10,761 real property building permits, which also consisted of prior year rollover permits as well. And then over 1,057 new construction permits. And then for the reappraisal and maintenance of personal property, that breakdown, of course, of this outline is 4,724 business licenses and building permits, 18,314 business equipment reports, 6,600 manufactured homes, and 500 livestock rendition reports. So in order to implement this program, the one thing that I am coming to request is the 6.3 million in valuation fund for fiscal year 2021 to again support the property valuation fund program. This program has to be implemented. We very much, we're a constitutional office, so everything we do is very strict deadlines. So we have monthly deadlines internally in order to meet the monthly deadlines per the property tax code and constitution. Let's see, real quick, my staff level, we have about 94 with 22 vacancies. We are working really hard to try and fill those. We actually started virtual interviews this week. We're unfortunately 29 appraisers, 12 vacancies short. So we are again working on filling those. But I am proud to say that we have about 20 of them that are state certified, and we just, one of our staff members became the first received the first residential designation for in the state through the International Association of Assessing Officers. So we're really proud of that. As far as breakdown on departments, I'm not going to go into that. Just a couple things I want to quickly highlight, since I talked about building permits, property transfers, is going over to the exemptions. We processed about 5,000 head of family for 2019. That's just for the year. That's not the total amount of how many parcels are receiving head of family. About 1,100 in veterans, 300 in veteran waivers, and 1,149 for value freeze applications. As far as special assessments, again, non-government exemption applications, we get a high volume of those. But and for applications for agricultural purposes, 29 for special method, and 79, which are the non-government exemption applications. For the annual data and statistical analysis, which is part of the annual data portion that I have to present to you, of the 285,418 notice of values that went out for 2020, we had a protest level about 4,572. That's about 1,000 less than we had last year. As far as residential parcels, the 233,217, 65% increased in value, 24% there was no change in value, and then 10.44% there was a decrease in value. As far as commercial and apartment parcels, that's 25,593 parcels. We saw a 1.23% that increased in value, 96.58 no change in value, 2.19% decrease in value. I think the last thing I kind of want to highlight is a huge portion of what our office has to focus on is community outreach. And the reason for that is because it is a complex process. When you set out your notice of value, people don't always take a look at the notice of value. So we really work hard to make sure that we're pushing people to look at their notice of value, ask questions, and we do that. And from first, we were doing a lot of outreaches last year. Now we're trying to push more virtual outreaches, but they have been successful, which shows in the decrease in our protest values. I want to last highlight that we're very proud of the fact that we were able to get up and running our walk-up window. And I mean, we're an old bank and we never utilized the walk-up window. So it's been a great resource because we've been able to just meet with property owners who still feel that they need to have, be able to drop off paperwork, come and see us virtual, one-on-one, that they get to see us through a window. And so we provide parking right next to our building, but it's been very successful, and I wish we would have used it earlier on. So I really want to thank IT and facility for getting us up and running. It's been very successful even now post-protest. So we're actually going to remain using this the remainder of the year, or as long as we're in that building. To finish, the property valuation maintenance program will continue to ensure compliance with the laws enacted by the New Mexico legislature in order to accurately and impartially value property in Bernalillo County within the timeline set forth in the New Mexico Property Tax Code. I want to thank my team, which the deputies, Michelle and Bobby, Chief of Staff, Clyde Ward, and Assessment Manager Tito Chacon, who worked very hard on putting together this document and ensuring our data was up to date and current, and all the work that our entire staff of the assessor's office does year round, and just going above and beyond helping property owners as best as they can. So again, our mission and goal of the office is to provide great customer service, fair and equitable assessments, properly. So I stand for any questions and I ask for your approval.
Questions? Okay.
Chair?
Commissioner Casada?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the county assessor for her great job. She has a huge responsibility, as we all know, and it really affects the areas in my district as well as everybody else's. But I get a lot of emails and concerns, and she has a really open process. She has a great appeals process. She works very hard to make sure she addresses individuals as they come forward, and if they have questions or if they have an appeal. She's been very good to the people of my community, so I just want to take this moment to thank her for being who she is and doing her job at such a high level. And with that being said, I move for approval.
Excellent. Second from Commissioner O'Malley. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Colley.
Aye.
Commissioner Casada.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti.
Aye.
Chairman Talbert.
Aye.
So call, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Madam Assessor. Appreciate it, Tanya. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, Board of Commissioners, and thank you, Commissioner. I enjoy working with everyone. And again, as I always tell you, if you guys have questions, you have issues, please call me. I'm here to help.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Item 11B, Emergency Management Ordinance Powers of Action. Commissioner O'Malley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to make my comments now, this is the Wellness Act is really about earned leave. And so I don't understand the connection. If people don't have jobs, they can't earn their leave. So they have to at least work 56 hours before they can even begin to earn leave, and it's every 32 hours. of work, they get 1 hour. So it runs about 5 hours a month that an employee can earn in terms of time off. And the time off, as I was mentioned, was if you have an emergency, if you have to go to the doctor, the dentist, you have to take your kids, the doctor, the dentist, you have 5 hours a month to be able to do that. I think that is extremely fair. I didn't see any reason to delay that. I also talked with Enrico and about what the issues would be in terms of administering it, and he assured me that whatever if this is important to the commission, we would get it going. Is it ideal? I mean, would there have been more time to want to train people? Yes, but it's also I think if we don't start it, it takes away from people's opportunities to earn time, because the people are working, and most of the people who this affects are frontline workers, people who work in restaurants, as I said, who make it easy for us to go and pick up food, also putting their health at risk and their family's health at risk. Yes, there's a program where you could apply for a grant in terms of something that's COVID related, but it doesn't apply, as I said, for people who just need to take time off. So also I asked this for this question to be on, because I think it's important, because it was a long haul and it took a lot to agree to a final resolution and ordinance on this. And I thought it was important that we have a public vote on it. As was mentioned earlier, the manager polled the different commissioners, and there was a majority who said yes, that they wanted to delay the ordinance. But that wasn't a public vote. And because it was a public vote to approve the ordinance, I think it's important to do that. So, I'm just going to move that we request that the manager rescind the agreement, or the executive order.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Casada?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, no, when I was asked about this question, I didn't vote. I didn't say anything. I said, we've given you the power to make decisions on what you think is best during COVID and the running of the county, and implementing whatever is coming your way, and making sure that it's done correctly. When we voted on that, we gave her that authority. We are not voting on whether we're going to do this or not, in my opinion. I've already voted to pass something, and it's passed. We also voted on giving her the executive power to do what she needs to do through the mechanism that we have voted to give her. And so she owns this. This is her decision to make through her staff and through her staff recommendation. I don't believe we should be voting on this. We've already voted on giving the county manager the power to make decisions based on the daily workings during COVID, and we are not out of COVID. We haven't even moved to the second phase of getting out of COVID, according to our governor. So we are still within a pandemic. We are still there. I don't believe I should have to vote on anything. I've already voted on both items, on both things. So I think that this is sort of a moot point, and I really truly believe it does. I hope it doesn't get a second.
Mr. Chair, could I ask
Mr. Chair?
County Manager a question?
Commissioner Colley, then Commissioner O'Malley.
This is for Julia. It would help me to understand, and I apologize for not having all the history here. It would help me to understand, because I've received, as you all have, a volume of mail about this. Most of the ones who say, please support the delay, say that the great burden that's placed upon our businesses to have to do this just coming out of COVID. So that's the first half of the question. Second half of the question is the employees' families, their friends have all been affected by COVID, and they've had a tough time coming through it. So they've had a tough time as well. What do individual employees gain or lose by the 3-month delay. And I wonder if the county manager could respond to that.
Julie?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Colley. So basically, it's not the it's simply the implementation date of when this will become effective. So instead of July 1st, it will be October 1st. And the way that we figured we got the October 1st date is that's basically, it's been 3 months since we've endured this, the effects of this COVID pandemic. And the original thought was at the end of the year, but we want it to be fair to the employees, because again, I just want to stress, I'm very sensitive to that. I have a lot of friends and family that are out of jobs or hurting for one reason or another because of this horrible pandemic. And that's basically why we came up with the October 1st date.
Okay, so my question is really not about how did you pick the date? The question is, what is the burden that's being placed upon our businesses that they don't want to start tomorrow? What huge burden is being placed upon our businesses if we started implementing it?
Staying open.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Colley.
Is it $100 an employee per week to administrate this? Is it? I don't understand the burden, and maybe Chairman Talbert has an idea.
Well, no, I mean, it's right now the burden is they're trying to stay open. They're trying to run their business at a 50% level or a 25% level or at any level, and having
if I
incur the cost
right
of implementing a new program at this point in time.
You got it. Help me understand what that cost is.
I can't give you, I don't have the overall cost of all businesses.
Mr.
Commissioner Piscotti, I know, did some work on this. Commissioner Piscotti.
Thank you. Yeah, I and my office did a lot of work on this last year. And so we met with a lot of business owners, and what we found was that they really needed some training. And I remember Enrico, I just kept calling you, right? And saying, Enrico, when are you going to get some training? Because that's what my people are looking for. I was bugging you, I was bugging County Manager Julie about how we were going to get training done. I remember it was probably like the last day we were all in the office. I went into your office, Enrico, and you showed me the flow chart on your whiteboard of the training, right? And so then everything shut down and that never happened. And so, I feel like saying if we rescind this and people have to start this tomorrow morning, first of all, we didn't
Not prepared.
do what we said we would do because we committed to
don't
providing
really have
training.
you don't really have any sense of what it will cost an employer to implement the program.
Cost-wise, no, but in terms of human effort and just struggle and the cost of us not living up to a commitment that we made, that is significant. And I guess I might as well, since I have the floor, throw out that the county's been working so hard. Mei Ling and Marcos, I don't know if they're going to give an update on the $5 million the grants, but they've been giving those out, and those have been going to pay employee salaries. Those can go for paid sick leave. So the county has been working so hard to really help both sides. We want to help small businesses. We want them to stay in businesses. We want them to get what they need, but we also want to take care of the employees too, and that's what we're doing.
Asking a simple question.
Yeah, no, I know.
Perhaps Mei Ling could answer.
If I can interject, please. We need to speak one at a time for the court reporter. So if whoever has the floor, thank you.
I apologize, Mr. Chair.
So let's go with County Manager Baca, and then we can go with Mei Ling. County Manager Baca.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Colley, and I'm sorry that I didn't answer your question, but I just want to make sure that I think employees need to get a better streamlined process because of how we implement it. And we haven't had a chance to provide training and education to these businesses to even implement this. And this is all because of COVID. I hate to blame COVID, but that's the reason, is because of this horrible pandemic. And I'm really sorry that employees have to suffer, but equally as important, our businesses are struggling and closing down.
Mei-Ling?
So Commissioner Colley, if an employee is making $12 an hour, it's about $200 a pay period.
The pay period being 15 days.
Yes, sir.
So $200, the business owner would have to put that in the bank or have to write a check to the person, or
right.
So we understand the burden to the employer.
So the cost, or the cost of an employee is considered a liability on their balance sheet. So when they provide sick leave or any type of leave, they have to carry that liability on their balance sheet, so it impacts their financials. So if they're cash flowing over, let's just say, a period of 3 months, and they provide that leave to the employee, they have to essentially bank that money and put it into an account, so that when that employee takes leave, they can pay that employee and offset the cost of covering the cost of that employee being gone. So the liability is not just the employee being gone during the sick leave. The liability is that now they also have to cover that employee's absence. But they don't show that on the balance sheet. They'll just show the cost of the employee's leave in addition to the cost of the salary.
Okay, so and that $200 issue occurs twice a month or twice in a 30-day period.
Correct, up to the amount of the required amount of leave, which I believe was 32 hours, or 56 hours. So they would have to carry 50. So if the employee banked it, it would be 56 hours that they would have to bank, and that the employer would have to carry on their balance sheet.
$11,200.
Thank you. So for the 2 weeks, they would have earned how many hours of paid time off?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Colley, one more time. I didn't hear that. You cut out for me.
For the 2 weeks that we were talking about, that would cost the employer $200 at some point along the line. How many
Right.
hours? How many hours is that for them to take off?
That would be I'm just thinking 12 divided by 200, so it would be like 18 hours.
In 2 weeks, they can earn 18 hours off?
Marcos?
No.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't understand your question.
In 2 weeks, how many hours can they earn off if they're working an 8-hour day, 5 days a week?
So it's 1 hour.
Week pay period that they would earn,
Thank you.
that they would
Very
accrue.
helpful. I appreciate it. I'll second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, other comments, discussion? Anyone else? Commissioner
Mr. Chairman.
Piscotti.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that what I said when we gave County Manager Julie the emergency powers, which is that she is such a smart person. She has a heart of gold, and she is such a team player. You know, I know that she does her homework and she talks to everybody and gets input before making a decision. So I support our county manager.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner O'Malley?
I support our county manager too, but we're the commissioners, and basically we hired a county manager and we hire the county attorney. So we have some responsibility there. And all I'm saying is it's a request. We can't move to overturn her decision. We can request though to overturn her decision, and that's perfectly legal. So there's a motion and a second to do that, and I guess we'll go from there.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. I just want to say, what I look at this as is this has become a situation around powers that we gave Julie to make during COVID. And now we are questioning those powers, which we have questioned none of her other powers on any other decision that she's made during this time. And I will tell you what she and her staff have done, including many that are on this Zoom call, is beyond compare in terms of how well the county has responded. And so from that perspective alone, to now challenge and question her decision around emergency powers that we all granted her for this period of time, which isn't over yet, we are putting that in question. And I'm not willing to do that at this time. I'm willing to know that she has more information than I do related to these particular situations, how they're going to affect the county staff, our businesses, with our input, which we're always allowed to give, which we've given, which we've not given. Some have been more active than others. That's fine. But in this case, it's a situation where Julie made a decision and I stand behind that decision. So at this point, we have a motion and a second regarding emergency management ordinance to rescind the postponement of implementation of the Employee Wellness Act.
Mr. Chair, it's a request to rescind.
Okay.
I would think that needs to be clear, okay?
Okay, a request to
Okay.
excuse me. A motion and a second with a request to rescind. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed, say no. No. Okay, motion to request to rescind the postponement implementation of the Employee Wellness Act fails on a 1-4. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mr. Colley,
Madam Clerk, Mr. Chair, the reason I voted or I seconded the motion was that I agreed with the Commissioner O'Malley that it needed to be on the record. From the beginning, I told Julie, and I meant it, that I would support her decision because we had given her that power, and I will continue to do that. Therefore, I vote no.
Commissioner Casada,
No.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti,
No.
Chairman Talbot.
No. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for calling the roll. All right, we have 11C, and then we have D&E. Okay, 11C, Memorandum of Understanding creating a Homeless Coordinating Council. Commissioner O'Malley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This MOU was passed by the City Council last night. It's an effort to work together, a framework to work together to address the issue countywide of the increased concern and problems associated with people who are homeless. And of course, it is a very frustrating issue. It's a growing issue, unfortunately. The MOU is not a perfect framework. There are, I did hear from some neighborhood association members that they felt that there needed to be more language regarding impacts to communities. And I believe that the people who are representing a representative in the different, like for example, the county commissioners and the city councilors do have the best interest in mind for the communities and understand that there are impacts to communities, positive and negative. We can't always assume that there's negative impacts for social services because sometimes social services do make a difference and they are positive. So this is a plan to move forward and create actually a strategy around how to address this and to formulate a plan where we've got the University of New Mexico has a lot, in terms of opportunity and responsibility, and the city, of course, and the county. So I don't know if Commissioner Piscotti has any comments, but she's also on that committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I move approval.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. Commissioner Piscotti?
Yeah, I just like to say, yeah, I was a part of the working group for this, and I want to thank Ken Martinez and Hannah Bell for working on this. I don't even know how long we've been going over it, but we've had legal look over it in terms of just what the contract is to make sure that that it makes sense, it's appropriate for the county. I know on the city side, they did the same. They approved this yesterday. And so I will second it. And also I'd like to say that going forward though, I do want to make sure that we have community input. And also, as Commissioner Casada is always pointing out, we need to have APS involved. Homelessness is a big issue among APS students. So I want to make sure that all stakeholders are involved in this. But as far as the contract goes, the MOU, I appreciate everybody's work. I think it's at a good place. So yes, I second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Piscotti. Appreciate it. I know that at least when I heard about this, it was going round and round, back and forth, and I appreciate you both being involved and looking at homelessness as an overall holistic approach, not just one particular opportunity for a gateway center or not a gateway center, but in general, because I'm more of a spoken hub kind of person where obviously there may be a central location, but homelessness is all around the city and all around the county. And so one central location is tough and challenging, but I trust you guys will figure that out if you can. So we have a motion and a second to approve the MOU creating a homeless coordinating council. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Colley,
Aye.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Aye.
Chairman Talbot.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. All right. 11D, Economic Development, Technical Assistance for Small Business Support. 500,000 Technical Assistance Small Business Support RFP. Commissioner O'Malley, any words?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought that we had passed this, but I guess that there's some concern about the amount. I do think it's important, though, to offer assistance to those who want technical assistance, and that we also support those organizations that are providing that. But so we already did approve this. So what is this for? Is this to revisit this, or why is this on the agenda?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Mei-Ling or anyone? I've lost track too, and then Commissioner.
So at the April 28th administrative meeting, the board approved the financial resolution appropriating the budget in the amount of $500,000. And it authorized the county manager to execute the service agreements and approve all future amendments. After additional discussions that were held at the June 16th administrative meeting, an item was requested to come forward for the board to determine the budgeted amount the RFP will be funded at. And that was the direction I got from the last June 16th commission meeting. So I put it back on the agenda as requested. And so I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioner Casada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We're just having a lot of problems on how this is going to be implemented. How, there's a couple questions. How's it going to be implemented? How much money are we actually going to use it and put into these small business support groups? And so I'm just gonna ask to see if sponsor would be willing to defer this. I think for a couple of reasons. One, we just really need to do our homework and see how we're actually going to spend this and how we're going to implement it, how much money is going to happen. And I think another thing is, since this is going to be implemented through the Economic Development Department, I think they kind of have their hands full at this point with the $5 million from the CARE money. And I think it would give them a little bit more time to try to figure it out. and how they're going to do that. I think, they're traveling in new waters right now themselves, and I think we all are. We're all on this same boat. I just want to make sure that we're all comfortable with how we spend it and how it's implemented. And that's why it's back on the agenda, Mr. Chair. It's not that, we're 100% against it and we want to bring it back to get rid of it. That is not the purpose of this. I think that, I think that there's some needs out there. We just got to figure out how we're going to identify them. I just feel that there's a whole lot of unanswered questions on it. And I'd like to, I know we can't answer them all, but there's some big ones that I would like to answer myself. And, and if you guys want to just squash this, that's up to you. It's at the will of the commission. I'm just throwing it out there that, I myself have a little bit of heartburn on how and how much.
Mr. Chair, I just,
Commissioner O'Malley and Commissioner
from a technical perspective, we approved this, and if we want to undo it, wouldn't that require that we have a vote that actually says that, or that's on the agenda to say that we either want to change the amount, or I agree that the idea was, of course, to put this out as soon as possible so that we can get support for businesses. Because we can't, as much as we'd like to continue to give grants to people, that's not going to happen forever. So the idea was to provide some technical assistance, which is very important to businesses. And the idea was to do it soon. So remember back when we did that, we did a short RFP. We have several people that responded to the organizations that responded to the RFP. So I think they're like, well, what's going on? And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of confused too. And I do want to get a better sense of how this would be implemented as well. And I was hoping that we would have had that by now. But I think from a technical standpoint, I don't think you can put this back on the agenda. If you want to change something, you can actually, we voted on it, we approved it, and then if you want to make amendments to it, you can put it back on the agenda. But that's not the way it's put now. I don't know, maybe Ken can answer this question since he's on just from procedurally.
Yeah, procedurally, it looks like it's an item on the agenda today for its first vote, but if it was previously passed,
right,
then you would be looking at, in essence, amending it or reconsidering the action you previously took. Any item can be brought back for amendment, and there's a process for doing that. And so I'm not sure if the purpose is to clarify the original action that you took or to change it in any manner.
But wouldn't that be, if you were going to bring it back, wouldn't it be like a request or to amend, or a request to rescind or something like that?
That's correct. You could, if it's been previously voted on, and I think that's what I'm trying to get clarification on. Then when you bring it back, is this a new motion to approve 500,000? Is this the original 500,000 or a new 500,000? It's the original. It's the original.
It's the old one. The old one that was. Well, I'm fine with Mr. Chair. It would be good to get a very good idea as how this would be implemented. I don't have a problem with that. And then I think we need to get a better handle on it. And so if we want to basically, I'm not sure how to proceed, because we put out an RFP, people, their expectations were that, in responding to an RFP, it takes a lot of time and effort. It does, I know as someone who ran a nonprofit. And so I think there was the expectation that there'd be some money available, but I guess since it's already in the works, if we could get the Economic Development Department to make some proposals by the next meeting as to how this would be implemented, that would be good.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I can tell you that the committee for the RFP has met, but they have not made a selection because staff is confused on what the budget will be because this item has been brought back. So what staff is requesting is clarification on the amount, and they can proceed with the RFP if that is the will of the commission.
Mr. Chair.
Hold on, Commissioner Casada. Commissioner Piscotti, we'll jump
Thank
back to you, Commissioner Casada.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would be in favor of deferring this because of all the confusion that we've talked about here. That everybody seems to be confused. It kind of came up suddenly, and I too would like to give a shout out to economic development. I know Mei Ling and Marcos, you guys have been working so hard, and I know that you're collecting data, all kinds of data that we can then use the next time this comes up to see what the community's needs are. And I want to make sure that this money, it's not an insignificant amount of money, and I want to make sure that it goes to the right places. And I would like to really see it benefit our smallest businesses and the employees. So yeah, I would like to see it deferred. And yeah, I forgot. I had like one big splashy point to make at the end, but I blew it. So take it away, Commissioner Casada.
Commissioner Casada.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair. I think, so Mei-Ling, can you answer a question for me? How many people, I know you're looking at how much money you have to work with, but how many people who've applied have actually qualified for the RFP?
Four qualified.
4, and how many people applied?
6.
So the 2 that didn't qualify, they didn't qualify based on the criteria, because we don't know what we're going to use them. So my question is, how do we determine who qualifies, who don't qualify, if we don't know exactly how we're going to implement the money and where the money's going to go?
Well, we wrote a scope of, the department wrote a scope of work, and the 2 that didn't qualify didn't respond to the RFP didn't respond to the criteria contained in the RFP. So that's why they didn't qualify, but there's 4 that did. And this, the 4 that did qualify are all capable respondents. But again, the committee hasn't made a selection on which one, because they didn't want to get into a conversation with the respondent without knowing what the budget was going to be.
So they can't tell us how they're going to implement the money until they know how much money they're going to get.
Right. So their budget, so they responded to so the RFP was 500,000. So the RFP, their response was written to include what they would use for the 500,000. However, if the commission reduces the amount, then there would be a different response. And then we would have to re-advertise in that case. So how they choose to implement it, and as far as advertising, there was one applicant that did get into a lot of detail as far as how they would do that. And so without because we're still in this process, I feel uncomfortable talking about the details of the respondent.
All right. Okay. Well, look, I'm gonna get you off the hook up.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have the staff to do it right now?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think the other big question is, I don't think it was the intent either that any one business was going to get $500,000. So it appears that some possibly who applied thought they were applying to get $500,000. And at least I know when Commissioner O'Malley and I talked, I'm pretty sure it wasn't that we were going to give one person, one group, 500,000. So if they submitted their applications thinking they're going to get 500K, well, they're sadly mistaken. That's not going to happen, because there isn't an RFP technical assistance program out there that's worth $500,000 right now. So I think it sounds like what I'm hearing is we need to pause, time out, right? Pause, don't have the staff. Some are thinking they're applying for 500,000. We're off in the month of July. We come back with an update beginning first meeting in August and understand with, maybe you working closely with Lisa, make sure, and Commissioner O'Malley's okay, with an RFP document that is a little more correct possibly in what we're asking for. I don't know. That's sort of my thought.
Madam, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Lisa Cedillo White. So I do want to say that the RFP was written in such a way, to your point, Mr. Chair, to be able to award a multiple award. So not just one award, but multiple awards. And if the will of the commission is to reduce the amount that is referenced in the RFP at 500,000, you can. And what Mei Ling and the committee would have to do is just renegotiate the scope of work that was submitted. But we would not have to reissue the solicitation. So I just wanted to mention that for clarification.
Yeah,
Mr.
I mean,
Chair?
yes, Commissioner O'Malley.
So then we wouldn't have to go out for RFP again. So I agree that maybe we just do a pause, take this up in August, discuss it, and that way we, I don't think anybody's prepared to do that right now, and there's no deferring. It really shouldn't have actually been on the agenda the way it is. So I agree with the pause part, and we'll just deal with it.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner O'Malley, we can actually, on the procurement side, we can notify all of the offerers and just let them know that we are having to get some clarification, but we can communicate to them so they're not.
That'd be important to let them know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
I think the conversation's been great to have again, and Lisa, I appreciate your comments because, I mean, again, I don't want to put words in Commissioner O'Malley, but I saw her sort of nodding her head like me. The intent for that money was never for that entire sum up to whatever to go to one group. That it was possibly, if that were the amount, up to be spread out amongst possibly. So anyway, we're going to pause. That's good. We're off the month of July. That's good. Mei Ling, you're raising your hand many, many times.
Yes.
You're not taking phone calls, are you? Are you?
No, I'm not. I shut off the phone. So I just need some clarification for staff because I get the pause. So is the direction for staff to rewrite the scope in response to what we're dealing with right now with the grant application? Or are we pausing just to see what happens in a month and writing the RFP scope of work in response to that? I hate to put my staff in a position to make a decision without the clear understanding of what the commission wants.
My take would be you're pausing for the month of July. We're coming back in August with more clarity or getting more clarity for you to be able to, I'm stuttering, to be able to go out with a good, either revised RFP or with the current RFP with the right information for you to make decisions.
Okay.
So I know that's clear as mud, but the only thing you need to worry about right now is don't worry about it in July.
Okay, fair enough.
And we'll figure it out in August. I mean, because we're taking some time off.
Yes. Okay, fair enough.
All right. Commissioner Casada, everybody, great conversation. Thank you. We're never short at making things sometimes clearer, or trying to at least. So thank you. All right, number 12, discuss, oh no, wait, hold on, wait, oh my gosh. 11E, okay, 11E was taken off. The consent agenda, which is, hold on.
It was 8E, now 11E.
8E, which is now 11E. motion to approve the employment agreement extension with Walter Kenneth Martinez Jr., Commissioner O'Malley, you asked.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just took it off the consent agenda to give Ken a hard time. No, I'm not really, that's not true. Of course, I told him not to worry, but that really, you know, there was an opportunity for us to thank him for the job he does, which is really well done. But Mr. Martinez, if you could just maybe highlight some of the changes in your contract versus what, you know, the last contract that we signed or that we agreed to.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is Teresa. Good
Hello,
evening.
Teresa.
How are you? Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the commission.
I can't hear anything.
Got to speak up a little bit, sorry.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
I can hear you now.
much better.
All right, I'm kind of scary up close though. I just wanted to introduce this agenda item for Mr. Martinez. The highlights are basically that it will become effective today, assuming that you all approve it, and that it will be for 4 years through 2024. I think there's a slight increase in pay. Otherwise, the terms of the agreement are the same as they used to be.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so there is, from last year, it was a 3-year contract, now it's a 4-year contract last time, and then there is an increase in pay. So those are the two key things.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Teresa. All right, I move a motion to approve the extension on the contract for our general counsel.
Second.
Kenneth Martin. Second, we got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mr. Colley,
Aye.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti. Aye. Chairman Talbot.
Aye,
So called.
unanimously. Congratulations, Kenny.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You can go change your shirt now. I know you were sweating, I'm sure. Not really. You knew you were in good shape, so thank you. All right. Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley, for bringing that before us as a separate item to make sure we recognized Kenny. Number 12, BCSO Daigle Staff Study Under Sheriff Covington present. Under Sheriff Covington, there you are. Except you're still coming up as Manuel Gonzalez. You're the man.
Yeah, I got a temporary promotion, at least for the chair, at least.
There you go.
So, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, thank you. I'll try to keep this brief. As you all know, we had the Daigle staff study that was entered into agreement with the Commission several months ago. They provided us with a copy of that staff study and the findings and the recommendations. There were a total of 23 recommendations. We, as the Sheriff's Department, reviewed all of those. We've acted upon all the recommendations that we have control over. Some of those recommendations were contractual issues, and those recommendations have been passed on to the union for consideration in their next negotiations. There were several staffing recommendations. We've been working with the county to address those recommendations without asking the county for additional staffing. We're aware that there's some budget concerns during COVID-19. And again, all the recommendations concerning procedures have been addressed. The Sheriff's Office, obviously, we're constantly looking for ways to improve staffing and policy in our service. And so we've addressed all of those. I'm not going to go into them all because I think it's something that you all have had a chance to review. But if there are any specific questions about how we responded to any of the recommendations, I'd be glad to answer those questions. We wanted to make sure that we responded to the commission. We felt that if one of the worst things we could do is not communicate back with the commission concerning this study. So at that, I'll leave it up for questioning and be glad to answer any questions that the commission might have.
Thank you, Under Sheriff. Thank you very much. Any comments, questions? Okay, none. Thank you so much. Number 12B is Sheriff's Office Oversight Advisory Board. Commissioner Colley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And before the Sheriff's Office leaves completely, I want to say that I think the work done on the Daigle piece is extraordinary, and it seems to me that it was very helpful for you guys, and I know it's going to be helpful for all of us moving forward. So I appreciate the seriousness with which the Sheriff's Office took it, and think you did a good job. So good for you for doing that, and thanks to the county manager for securing that study and making it work for all. I also want to thank the Sheriff's Office for inviting me in for a video conference on Monday. That was an interesting way to spend lunch, as people were all over the place, and they were very hospitable and nice. And coming out of that luncheon meeting yesterday, if you have a paper copy of the agenda with you and a pencil, let me invite you to pick up your pencil and go to 12B and scratch the word oversight. It's no longer, I think, we need to talk about the Sheriff Office Advisory Board or with an oversight in there. I think we all understand that oversight is not something that the Board of Commissioners wants to do or could do, or as one of us mentioned yesterday in our conference with the sheriff, is even competent to do. Although I'm not going to say who said that. It's certainly that commissioners, are not commissioners because they have a great deal of judicial law enforcement experience, but because they look at big pictures and hear advice. So I think, and this is where I resonate with a lot of what Commissioner Quesada says, we are hearing all over the place that we need other avenues of communicating with law enforcement in our area. And for the Bernalillo County Commission, that for us is how we communicate with the Sheriff's Office. So I'm gonna, with your permission, I'm not gonna take my 25 minutes now. I'm gonna take about another 30 seconds, Mr. Chair, and say that I would really, and I will be in touch with each of the other commissioners to get their advice about the way in which the county can move best on creating places where we can communicate with law enforcement in our area. I think the word oversight has got to be completely off the table. That's not what we're talking about. How do we talk about ways in which the citizens of the county, the law enforcement staff, the county government can all sit down together and talk about critical issues we need to do in a public forum? So that's what I'm hoping for. I've had great support from the legal office. Teresa and Ken there have done an exceptional job of trying to listen to me move my way through all of this stuff. And my intention would be that our next meeting to bring you a rough draft that we can mark up and see what it says and what we can do. But at this point, thank you for your time. Scratch the word oversight and let's go home, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Colley, very much. And again, kind words. Thank you, Under Sheriff Covington. Congrats on having the study completed and moving forward with whatever changes you need to make. So the good news is the announcement of the next commission meeting is August 11th, 2020. So I would say go out and enjoy your vacation, but unfortunately there's probably nowhere to go unless you're going to be 6 or 12 or 100 feet away from everyone. But find something fun to do, find something enjoyable to do it and someone to do it with, and take a breather. So appreciate everyone. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, August 11th, zoning at 3, Zoom via Zoom, and administrative at 5 via Zoom. Virtually, we're signing official documents. And if there's no other business, thank you all very much. We still didn't go 6 hours, so bam, have a great July. Thank you, everyone.